Welcome to The Valley's Voice, Arizona Live's Legal Truths.
Hello and welcome to The Valley's Voice, Arizona Lives and Legal Truths. I'm your host, Travis Meltzer, founder and managing attorney at Valley Injury Law. Today I'm honored to sit down with Payton Whitmore, co-host of one of the highest rated radio shows in Phoenix, The John Jay and Rich Show, as we dive into our Arizona Live series, where we will be spotlighting the real stories, challenges, and triumphs of people across the Grand Canyon State. Payton, thank you so much for joining us today.
Of course. Thanks so much for having me, Travis. I'm super excited to sit down and talk to you and really excited to see what this podcast brings to the Valley. I know it's going to be great.
Well, thank you. Hope so too. So we'll see if we get started off good here, right? And so now you are originally from the Valley and you grew up listening to John Jay and Rich. I know they've been around forever, on the way to school even. So what's your earliest radio memory of the Valley and how did that shape your idea of home?
Yeah, I did. I was born and raised in Chandler, Arizona. So I grew up listening to 104.7 KISS FM, and John Jay and Rich were household names. So on my way to school, we listened to War of the Roses and second date updates and all that kind of stuff and the crazy cheating scandals that we get into on the show. And it's so wild. I feel like I have imposter syndrome every day when I walk into that studio because it's like, how did I grow up on something as insane as this, and this is my everyday life? So I would say definitely our War of the Roses second date update. Those are the things that I vividly remember sitting in the car, like meet my mom. I'd be like, please let me be late to school. Please. I just want to know if he's a cheater or not. And I'm like,
get through that last commercial break.
Exactly. But then also too, my grandma, my meme is what we call her. Actually, she's a big concert goer. So we had a lot of music growing up in our house. So I vividly remember the John Jay and Rich tents out at all of the concerts and handing out all the free merch. And, you have these people who are just everyday people, but they're celebrities to you in your life, when you're not really getting that. So that has to have been my earliest memories, I think, of radios. Definitely War of the Roses, second date update, and then seeing them out and about as a community as well.
Right. Yeah, honestly, I think that was my first introduction to John Jay and Rich.
Yes.
And you're right. It's like, I'll be late to class. I just have to know if he cheated. I just need to know.
Let us know.
Yeah, it's wild. Yeah. So from Chandler to Portland, right? So you started, or at least you went to finish your collegiate athletic career at Warner Pacific, then came back to Phoenix. So what did living away teach you about the Valley that you only noticed once you left?
That's a really good question, Travis, because I left for school. I was not even 18 yet when I graduated high school. I was a young 17-year-old graduate. So when I first got onto a college campus, I actually was playing Division I basketball. I went to Weber State University, and that in itself was a culture shock. I was living in Utah. It was snowy. I'm from Arizona. It's hot. You don't get snow. And just the culture and the vibe out there was really different than what I grew up around. And then I transferred to a school in Texas, and that was an even bigger culture shock. That was it was the panhandle of Texas. People rode their tractors onto campus. They would ride their horses onto campus. I'm a city girl. That was just not the lifestyle for me. And then moving to Portland, Oregon, I actually had a lot better experience being a college athlete and a student athlete at that. But when it came to appreciating Arizona, I don't think that I realized it until I actually came back home for good. Of course, I would come home for holidays, Christmas, and sometimes I would come home for a couple weeks during the summer, but I never really appreciated it in the way that it was when I was 22 and I had officially moved back home. I drive around at Arizona Sunset all the time, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is beautiful. Beautiful. I just got back from Mexico. It was all sticky and hot and humid. I was like, please give me the dry heat. So I would say the things that I slept on when I was in college, I definitely didn't appreciate until I actually really moved back home. And that's the people, that's the weather, that's just the where I grew up in Chandler, we are so neighborhood oriented. Everybody is always down to hang out. Everyone's always down to have a good time. And so that is what is different from Phoenix than anywhere else that I've ever lived.
Yeah. kind of the same thing for me anyway, from Vegas. Then came here for school, law school, moved back to Vegas, and then came back. And it's just, yeah, I mean, the community here, you know as well as anybody, the culture here is crazy. It's just, it's such a cool and it's so unique here in town. And you're absolutely right. I don't think you don't know what you have until it's gone kind of thing.
Exactly.
Uh,
Exactly.
yeah. So, no, that's great. And so, being a collegiate athlete, which habits from college athletics still show up in your bright and early 4 a.m. morning show routine?
Geez, there is so many things that I am able to connect from my life in radio to my experience as a college athlete. For one, the morning workouts, they set me up to wake up for the 5 a.m. show. That's for sure. I am someone that I don't have to snooze my alarm 5 times. Second it goes off, I'm up and I'm ready to go. And when it comes to like being a basketball player and being an athlete, you have to turn it on. Once the clock starts ticking, you have to be ready to go. You have to lock in. You have to be a great teammate. You have to be kind to your team. You have to be kind to yourself also, right? Because mistakes always happen. And that's something that I find myself doing all the time, constantly when I'm on the air. As soon as 5 a.m. hits, the lights are on, the cameras are rolling, the mics are going, and you got to be ready to perform no matter what. And you're not going to have a perfect show, just like you're not going to have a perfect game every single time. But those days that you do, they make all of it so worth it. It makes the early mornings and the late nights just worth it. I mean, and it's stressful. Don't get me wrong, Travis. Okay, being an athlete, there's a lot of pressure, and being an on-air personality, there's also a lot of pressure. But I thrive in the chaos, so I think that's why I got a little lucky when it comes to this radio thing.
Yeah, no, and that's great. You're absolutely right. I think being an athlete at really any level, obviously, the higher the level, the more you really have to deal with stress and focus in those stressful situations. And I can only imagine. I mean, I'm up at 5 with kids sometimes, but I am not in front of a mic at 5 a.m. So I can only imagine. And,
yeah, and I know I say it all the time. I'm not a morning person, so the fact that I am able to wake up and just turn it on it blows my mind as well.
Imagine if you were.
I know, right? Totally.
Where would you be? It's wild. So no, and so yeah, so I know a little bit about that. I think you originally wanted to be an FBI agent or a victim's advocate. So what flipped the switch from, we'll say, law enforcement to live entertainment? And do you still see some overlap between those two?
All the time. I do all the time. I graduated with a bachelor's degree in criminal justice. I wanted to be an FBI agent. And the reason I wanted to jump into FBI, I really wanted to be a detective. I grew up on Law and Order. That's what my mom watched when she put us to bed. So that was my life. I was like, I want to do that. I can solve crimes. I would be good at this. And so I decided to go to school for it. And I really did enjoy it so much. My favorite part of the criminal justice system and learning about it was definitely the jails and prisons. I found that really interesting. But when it came from the switch from what I wanted to do with my life originally as a criminal justice major, law enforcement, victims advocate, to being an on-air personality, it wasn't like I was like, oh, I'm going to switch from being in law and going to radio. Like, it didn't exactly happen that easy. When you grow up playing basketball or playing sports your entire life, like, I didn't have a job until I was 22, until I had graduated college. I wasn't allowed to have a job. My job was to be a good basketball player. And so you kind of go through this phase in your life where you don't really know who you are, what you want to do. And unfortunately, the last year that I was living in Portland, Oregon, was actually when the Breonna Taylor shootings happened. And that was something for me. I'm half Black and I'm half white. That was something for me that was really hard as a Black woman. But what was even harder was downtown Portland was on fire. And I live 10 minutes away from there. And so I had friends and teammates that wanted to go protest, that wanted to go do these things. And in my heart, I struggled with, this is what I want to do with my life, and these are my people. So I decided, took my own sat with it, didn't really know what to do. And I decided I wasn't going to go protest, because what happens if I go, God forbid something happens, I get arrested, something terrible happens, then everything that I just worked for the last 4 years of my life would have been gone. And so I took several steps back away from pursuing the FBI, law enforcement, victims advocacy. And I actually just worked a job at Top Golf. Hated it. I was like, get me out of here. I need to find something else. And my dad, actually, he's a basketball coach, and I went to one of his games, and I ran into John Jay, who is the host of the John Jay and Rich Morning Show. And I was talking to him, and I didn't even know who he was. I didn't recognize his voice. I had just moved back to the Valley, and he was asking me like 1,000,001 questions about my life. And I was like, I don't know like who this guy is, but okay, here, I'll tell you whatever. And then about 3 days later, he sent me a DM, and he was like, hey, I was the one that was talking to you. There's an opportunity on our show. I think you should apply. I thought our conversation was great. And then that's kind of how I ended up with my foot in the door. So it wasn't like I just dropped law to go into radio. There was a little bit more of a journey for it. But to kind of circle back on your question, I find myself having an even bigger platform to advocate for whatever it is that I'm feeling. I now have a microphone, and on the daily, we're reaching millions and millions of people in my city, which to me, I feel like I can reach a little bit more people now than what I may have ever been able to do. I might not be able to be there physically, but I definitely am there as a voice for all of those things.
Yeah. No, that's amazing. And no, you're absolutely right. I mean, I think ultimately it sounds like that you wanted to affect people's lives in some way. And I think you made a great path there anyway.
Absolutely.
And so that kind of gets me right into it. So as you probably know, more than me, the white male, radio hasn't been diverse. It hasn't always been diverse. Candidly, it's probably still not. Have you felt the pressure, or even the privilege, so to speak, in being a young woman of color on a syndicated show? And how are you using that seat to pull others up?
I feel the pressure and the privilege all of the time. And radio doesn't have a lot of color in it in general across the board, right? It is a white male dominated industry. And I'm 26. I'm Black, but I'm also white. So I get a little bit of best of both worlds, because I feel like there's so many things on the air that I am able to use my quote unquote white privilege that I do have. Or, I do have the opportunity to educate people as well in the things that we go through. And I really do find it so interesting and so fun to see all of the different walks of life and how we can all come together and just produce great content that makes people smile, content that helps people, content that makes people happy. And I think that's what we're all here to do at the end of the day. But I definitely feel the pressure and the privilege on the daily, all the time.
Yeah. Well, especially at such a young age. I mean, I got you by about 10 years. So I can only imagine, but I could tell you from beyond the fact that I'm a little biased, obviously you're here, but you're doing an incredible job. I can only imagine. And I hope much more women follow in
Me too. That's the plan. I coach high school girls basketball all the time, and they seem really interested in what I do for a living. And I'm like, you guys can listen from this time to this time, because I don't need you guys to know about my life.
Yeah, exactly. So, because the morning radio show is, raw and personal, and I think that's what makes particularly your role in that show so unique. How do you decide what parts of your life are airworthy or what you keep private?
That's a phenomenal question. And for me, it kind of gets me into trouble a lot.
Yeah.
I have no filter. I have no filter. And I think that is probably why they keep me around. I just say what I want to say. I don't have any media training or background. So sometimes I say stuff and I'm like, oh my gosh, girl, like, why would you say that? And I go to sleep and it keeps me up at night. There has been some things that I've said on the air when it comes to my fiance Kadeem or my family, where they're like, why would you say something like that? And I'm like, I'm just talking. Like, I forget that we are talking to millions of people at a time. Because just in the studio, it's just 4 of us. And I feel like I'm talking to my friends. And so sometimes I just don't even think twice and I just say it. But the things that I really keep close to my chest are if my fiance and I, if we get into an argument, you're probably not going to hear about that on the air unless he and I have the conversation that we can talk about this. If I get into it like with like my sister or my families, most of the time I'll try to keep that to myself if it's really bad. But if it's something that people can relate to, I definitely want to share it because people want somebody to feel like they're not alone or someone that's relatable. And for us to sit behind a microphone in a studio and act like our lives are perfect is doing an injustice to our listeners. So yeah, I would say there's not very many things that I don't talk about on the air. But if I had to, it would be if I'm like in an argument with someone.
Oh yeah, no, I get it. Yeah, no, it's the last thing you want to do is extend an argument
Exactly.
to millions of listeners.
Exactly.
And then, yeah, no, completely get it. But you're right. I mean, I think having that train of thought, or at least the freedom to have the train of thought, makes the show exactly what it is, and it
Right.
makes you and John Jay and Rich and all of you guys personable and relatable because you are those quote unquote local celebrities that are real people that people tend to forget about that. So
Right.
no, it's great.
You
No, I
can
love
see
it.
us walking at Target. You can't see Kim K walking at Target.
No, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, at least not yet. We'll still
Exactly,
see you
not
for
yet.
now. Don't leave us behind, Payton.
Right.
So, so here we go. We'll do some Phoenix favorites rapid fire questions.
Oh, let's
There's
do
only
it.
3. There's only 3. It's not crazy. So
Okay.
go to taco spot.
Oh my goodness. There is this shop. It's called the Bodega on Central. It's right on Camelback and Central. And it's like a bodega that you would find in New York with snacks and treats and whatever. But on the weekends, the owner brings out a grill. He makes the best tacos in the Valley. He does the Sonoran dogs. He does a cheese chop. Highly recommend the Bodega on Central.
Bodega on Central. I might, yeah, well, if I haven't been there, I will now.
Check it out.
Yeah, no, for sure. And you mentioned this before, best desert sunset lookout.
Oh my gosh, that's hard. It's so hard because I feel like you can walk out of your front door and see a beautiful sunset. But there used to be right on top of Camelback Mountain. You used to be able, I don't know if it's still open anymore, but when I was in high school, my friends and I, if we had like a bad week at school, we would drive up the backside of Camelback. We would park the car, we would watch the sunrise, and we would just scream at the top of our lungs like a bunch of crazy kids. But just beautiful, and especially an Arizona summer sunset, you can't beat them.
No, the pinks and purples.
Exactly.
To die for. No, absolutely. And so local artists that you blast on the drive-in.
Geez, local artists is hard. I feel like there's not as many local Arizona artists that are on the maps that there should be, but there is an artist. Her name is Kiana Lede. She went to Mountain Point High School. I think she graduated my class 2016. Kiana Lede. She is so good. R&B. I listen to her stuff on repeat.
Oh, well, I know what I'm listening to when we're done, for sure. Yeah, no, I agree. I think, coming from Las Vegas, for me, where the music scene is huge. I mean, you have people like Panic at the Disco, the Killers. I mean, the list goes on and on. Arizona, while they have Jimmy Eat World and a couple smaller, I hate to say smaller groups, but no, you're right. I would love the music side of things to really boost up when it comes to the culture here. Now, I think we might have talked about this before in the past, or you brought it up. So do you consider yourself a tequila expert? I believe. Is that right?
Yeah. So
okay.
I kind of changed my mind on the tequila expertness. The Nicki Minaj concert did me dirty.
Okay. No, I get it.
But
well, what's your favorite? Blanco, Reposado?
Reposado all the way. If I have to drink tequila, I'm drinking a Reposado. Give me the Kendall Jenner brand 818 and I'm good to go.
Perfect. So here what we'll do, quick this or that, and then we'll do one more question. So Camelback hike or pool day?
Pool day. I am not an outdoors girl. Well, I am.
115 on Camelback, hard
but
pass.
By the pool. I'm an outdoors girl, but by the water.
Yeah, Yeah, a cool outdoors girl.
Exactly.
Same here, boy, but you get the idea. Suns playoff game or Diamondbacks opener?
I love the Diamondbacks, but I'm going to have to go with the Suns. I'm sorry.
Oh, you're not apologizing. Yeah, I agree. And then second date update chaos or feel good love up moment?
Oh, why did you do that to me? Okay.
Because I had to.
We all love a second date update, but I gotta say, the love up moments, they really do take the cake. Like, I'll be in the studio just crying because of how special those moments are. So, definitely love up moments all the way.
Well, look, I think about wrapped up here. So, Payton, I just wanted to say thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. And again, you are our first non-attorney guest, so I really appreciate it. And again, just thank you so much for taking the time today.
Of course. Thanks, Travis. I can't wait to listen to all the rest of the episodes. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.